I have not made a long form book review video on a single book for a very long time, but We Are the Dead was such a good read that I'm coming out of retirement for book reviews because I have to talk about this. This was an absolutely incredible book. This book blew me away. You could say I read this book and the world ended. You'll get that reference when you read it. This was such a compelling read. It wasn't a 6 out of 5, which you would think it would have to be for me to put effort into making a full video for it. It was more like a 4.25 out of 5, like The Will of the Many was for me. But I couldn't put it down. I loved so much about this book that I need to talk about it, and I need more people to be aware of this book and to read it because it is something that a lot of people are missing out on. This is a book a lot of people enjoy. A lot of people will also hate this book given the dark content of it, but I thoroughly loved it and I want to talk more about it. Before we go any further, make sure you like this video, help it out, comment below your favorite dark fantasy book. Is it We Are the Dead? Is it the darkness book that comes before? Or is it something I haven't heard of? Please let me know. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. But with that, my short sales pitch, my elevator pitch for this series is this is dark John Gwynne. This is fast-paced, action-packed, easy-to-read dark fantasy that is full of themes of war crimes, being conquered, living in a conquered city, and rebellion. The deep exploration of these themes is what made this book stand out so much for me. What is it like being in a country that has been conquered? What are your thoughts on the people that are just following this new rule and not fighting back? How are you going to fight back? What are your drivers? What are the things that are motivating you? How do you fight your fear when you feel like you have no hope left? How do you find hope? The themes of this book were so well done, and I feel the author, Mike Shackle, did a fantastic job getting across his thoughts and perspectives on these darker themes. Now, I read We Are the Dead with my book club on Fable, Spaced Out Wizardly Reads. There's a link for that in the description. It's completely free. It's not a sponsorship or anything. It's just a space we hang out and talk about books. We've still got the discussion in there for We Are the Dead. We'll be doing Jade City in November. Please join us. It's a ton of fun reading and talking about books with you all. And the common consensus on We Are the Dead was this was so easy to read. The writing style, the way the book's structured, it's so easy to just flick to the next page, flick to the next page, and you could just find yourself sitting down and going through 100 pages very easily. This is the first time I've flown through a physical book in months. Usually I read on my Kindle, listen to an audiobook, but this one I actually sat down with a physical book during the day and flew through it. So everyone agreed the action was great, it was easy to read, the writing style was nice, simple, and very effective, and everyone had ratings from 5 to about 3 to 3.5. So those lower ratings, they were for people that didn't connect to the characters as much. They found the characters a little bit bland, and they found some of the decision making to be a little bit off-brand when it came to the end of the book. And I found with those decision making choices by the characters, a few of them I did agree with. I found that one of them was just a young guy just discovering that he's not the center of the world. There's more people out there that he should actually look after and care for. I really agreed with his decision making, but there was a few of those decisions that drove some of the readers off of some of these characters. And there's one scene where the author put a character in a position where they just shouldn't have been able to survive when they did. And that was one of the things that brought this book down from a 5 to like a 4.25 for me. If you're going to put a character in a dangerous position and have them in a spot where 99% of people will pass, you can't allow that character to live, no matter how important their POV is. You've got to protect your characters better than that. You can't just use plot armor of someone not swinging an axe hard enough. But outside of that, there was a lot of love for this book in the book club. The writing style, just simple and effective, just like The Road with Cormac McCarthy, that you don't need descriptive, flowery prose to have a powerful message and to effectively convey the story. This writing is simple, it's not descriptive, it's straight to the point, but just like with The Road, it's incredibly powerful. The themes get across, the story gets across. You can have a movie in your mind, and it reminds me a lot like John Gwynne in that sense. The chapters are very short, so you're able to just, I'll just read one more chapter, I'll just read one more chapter, I'll just read one more chapter, and next thing you know, it's the middle of the night, and you're now halfway through the book, and you're just going to finish it, because it is just that compelling. There's a lot of action in it that keeps you hooked to the page, but it's all action that has meaning. There's consequences to all the action, so it's not meaningless action, it's purposeful action, which I deeply appreciate. So writing style, absolutely fantastic. Now, going into the plot and how this book is structured. This book is structured in the prologue. The prologue is set 6 months before the events of the book. Then after the prologue, this book is broken up into 8 parts for the 8 days that this book spans. Now, if you don't want to know anything about the story, you might want to click off now. But if you want to know what the general plot is, I'll tell you about that now. We're in a country that at the prologue of this book gets conquered. In the blink of an eye, a country goes from strong and well looked after to just decimated. The enemy has won. And we pick up 6 months after the enemy has won. There's very few trained fighters left in this country. We get a broad range of POVs from an old grizzled warrior, just a young guy from the streets, a girl with training but ran away from the fighting, a single mother that's just trying to look after her own mother and her son, and we get to follow a mage and high up general from the conquering army. And we follow them over 8 days while their while their lives get entwined into this mission that is just centered around the one last hope of this kingdom. And there's a bunch of really well paid off twists along the way. I thoroughly loved this plot. I loved that it was set out over 8 days after just a really intriguing, hooking prologue. The structure was fantastic. The writing was fantastic. Really good plot. So I'd give the writing a solid 8 out of 10. The plot a solid 8, 9 out of 10. Then we go to the characters. We'd go more like a 7 out of 10. Really good characters, but they could have been a little bit deeper, and there could have been a few character decisions that could have been fleshed out a little bit more to make a bit more sense. But for the most part, I was able to connect to these characters and understand most of their decision making and really want to cheer for them or understand their situation. They're not all good people. This is a dark book, so we don't have the most lovable characters in all the circumstances. Some of them are pretty extreme. Some of them are just a bit cowardly, but for the most part, I was able to understand their motivations and drives and really get into their stories. Then for the world building, nice, simple, and effective. There was some good magic, but not too much of it, so the story was able to feel gritty and real. There was some good history where you could understand how these lands are laid out with the gods and the different peoples of the lands. Nothing too full on with the world building, but I love the story and the world that Mike laid out in book 1. I can't wait to dive further into this series. So make sure you're subscribed because I will be finishing off this trilogy pretty soon and making a full video about it when I do, because this was fantastic. If you don't mind a dark read, you should check it out and let me know what dark fantasy I need to check out next. Have a great day.